Our babies on the spectrum are being underestimated, and they're being underestimated simply because the way in which they are being assessed is not differentiated for them based on their unique needs. And so I want parents to be mindful of when you start to tell schools that, okay, I want a smaller placement and, oh, this needs to be modified for him or her. You are using language that puts them on a different track. And so even at that young age, when they talk about a modified curriculum, that means that your child will be on a track where they will not be receiving a regular high school diploma. And those are not things that they tell you in these IEP meetings. They tell you all the wonderful things about being on a modified curriculum, about how the student-teacher ratio is lower and how there's less distractions and how they can give your child more attention. But they leave out the piece that in a few years, when you are concerned about graduation, your child will not have the ability to obtain a high school diploma. And so there are also some people that will simply say, oh, you don't have to worry about that because we're going to look at this placement. We're going to see if they belong on that modified curriculum every single year. Well, yeah, there's supposed to be a discussion about that at every IEP meeting, and normally there is. But what happens is when your child is placed on that modified curriculum, know that the expectations are now lowered for them. And so when they see that teacher and they're in that classroom with that teacher, the teacher expects that they are on the right path. So they're not going to be challenged in the way that they should be to determine whether or not they should be off of that modified curriculum. And I can tell you that in my experience and the experience of many other advocates that I know, once you are placed on that modified curriculum, that's where you're going to stay. So please be sure, please be certain, do not make decisions just in the moment. You want to make sure that you understand what that modified curriculum really means and whether or not your child belongs on there. So stop worrying about whether or not they're making an A in the class. Stop worrying about whether or not they're doing everything that their neurotypical peers are doing. Just worry about whether or not they are learning, and more importantly, worry about whether or not the way in which they are being assessed really allows your child to demonstrate what he or she knows. Because I can tell you this, many of our kids, they are so smart, they are brilliant, but the way in which that they are being assessed does not allow them to show their genius. So please be careful with putting your child on a modified curriculum. See ya.